As the saying goes, there's no time like the present. And this message made it to you, and you're here because at this present time, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you don't have enough will, determination, fortitude, discipline, motivation, inspiration, enough competence to move any further than you are right now. And that's a difficult reality for anyone to accept. But also, as someone who has been there, felt that, absorbed that, I'd argue it's the best place to be. And we can debate as humans, as people, as compassionate, rational, mindful beings, that wherever your starting point, there's a level of fairness that could be associated with it. But ultimately, we can debate until we're blue in the face. We can wish, think, and consider so many alternate possibilities, but you're still going to land in the same place, in the same space and time, which is right now. So what are you going to do with the right now? What are you going to do to elevate yourself? Because some of what I will get into today, I'm actually probably going to close with this thing, is that society and how we are built is banking on you reaching your highest level of incompetence, thereby limiting you to wherever you are and maintaining you as status quo until you clock out and die. And that's the scariest proposition for me. That's the most motivating source and factor for me, that you could actually be predicted to reach a certain level of incompetence, thereby giving you a ceiling which you will never see a way out of by choice for whatever it is you want to say and how you want to say it, which is just an excuse. And that only those who truly achieve and maximize is because they continue to raise their level of incompetence, thereby becoming, by duality, competent. And that's a difficult thing to prosper, or I should say to process. And let me try to make it make sense. If we can agree that by the standards of physical strength, weightlifting will make you stronger. And if you're a novice and just beginning, regardless of age and where you are, let's eliminate any of the criteria because who you are and where you are is going to have a huge impact on your starting point as far as strength. And then your ability to gain strength over time. Like if you're in your 20s and a man on that new testosterone, you explode faster. If you're like me in your 40s or even further, it takes a little bit longer. Gotta be a little more patient. But the concept is the same, I promise. Let me get through it. You decide you want to get stronger. You start by lifting weights. So you go in and you decide to bench press. And the first time you go, you just grab the bar. And the bar is 45 pounds. And you can lift that bar however many times you can lift that bar. And the first time you lift that bar, whether you want to agree or not, because, you know, we got egos, that 45-pound bar is weight. And it's going to be a little heavy. And even if it isn't, let's say you could do it 10 times. Yep, on that 45. And right next to you is a guy or a gal or a person or a human with the 45 bar plus two 45 plates on the side, and that's 135. And you're watching, and you're like, ooh, I can't wait to get to lift that weight. And then even on the side of them is somebody with that 45-pound bar with two 45s on each side, and that's 225. Before you start flexing your ego, it is said that only 1 in 1,000 people can do that weight. Why do I think that's important? The weight for each of those people, the person who's just doing the bar, the person who's doing 145 on each side in the bar, the person who's doing 245s on each side in the bar, the weight all feels the same to them, depending on your level of competence. Meaning if you're a novice, if you're an intermediate, or you're a little further, and I wouldn't say an expert because there's always more weight, but you're fluent, your fluency, your competence level. As it increases, so does your ability to lift the weight. But the weight doesn't feel any lighter. The reason you lift a heavier weight is because you've gotten used to lifting a certain amount of weight. And so in order to grow and exceed and excel or get stronger, because that's what you're trying to do is get stronger, you add more weight each time. And you do this slowly because weight is heavy and your ability and tolerance to handle weight needs to be built slowly over time. Of course, yes, you get better, but the point is the weight feels the same to each person in each situation. It's just the level of competence for each, or incompetence, your maximum, is different depending on how much time, energy, and effort you've put in. Simple math. The more you lift, the heavier you can lift, but the weight always feels the same relative. It's heavy. You're always going to try to lift as heavy as you can lift without hurting yourself. So apply that to life. In whatever level and area you want to apply it to. And the fact that you may not want to start right now, or you haven't started, or you keep saying you're going to start, and you do the research and the diligence, and you know what to do, but somehow haven't lifted the weight and taken action. All you're doing is staying at the same competency level and having the same ability or inability, when the reality is the weight is always going to be heavy, and as heavy as it is right now. But if you don't move and you don't do nothing, the weight doesn't get heavier, and that you can expand and lift more, because simply you're staying in the here and now and nothing is happening. And there isn't enough motivation, inspiration, hopium that can move you outside of the reality of you either are or you aren't. There is nothing that I can say, which is why I always refer to myself as a reminder, at a faith or spiritual level. We all have the same access to God or creator or universe, the Lord of spirits, or even the ability to decide you don't believe in a creator. Whatever it is, we have the same information available to us. We have the same opportunity to indulge in the information and wisdom available to get stronger spiritually. And some of us stay on the 45-pound bar. Some of us have 2 plates. And continue to apply that across the spectrum. Your financial capabilities. Is there a limit to the amount of money you can make? You might think there is, and there is, when you cap yourself by the level of incompetence you reach. And when you stay at the average wage, whatever that is, I don't know if it's in the 50s or the 70s now, but let's just say you're making $75K. You stay in that little bracket, lifting that same little financial weight, and you never add more to your plate. Why? You have the same information available as your boss. You have the same opportunity to accrue skills as your boss. You have the same opportunity as the founder of the company. The only difference is increasing your level of incompetence and weight. You can do that spiritually. You can do that financially. You can do that with your physical health. You can do that with everything available to you as far as what the world offers. We're all creators. The only thing limiting us is our ability to go create for ourselves. Could we argue there's propaganda and agendas and things that are constructed, particularly if you're in a poverty-driven mindset space, that help keep you restricted? Absolutely. 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 Are there factors working against us that we have no control over? Absolutely. Absolutely. And what does it mean? Because regardless of circumstances and starting point, regardless of limiting factors, regardless of the incompetence and the poverty built around certain people, we've seen them break the box. We've seen people make it out of all levels of despair. And we clap for them. We acknowledge them. We honor them. Because we see, oh, it is possible. That 225 pounds on the bench, 1 out of 1,000 apparently, there's 1,000 people walking, 1,000 people can do it. There's nothing stopping them except for you have to keep lifting the weight. Life is a weight. And it'll allow you to lift and shift and move to the capacity that you can absorb the weight that life offers. It feels the same for everyone, regardless of starting point. It's the same, like we're built the same way. We have the same mechanisms. I get stuck. It's crazy. The more I read, the more I learn, the more I process, the more I'm inspired, motivated, and I consider the possibilities and think about the framework to share on this channel, the Do You channel. It comes down to that. Everybody has the access to the same framework, to the same possibility, the same opportunity to do you. It's just that you can't define how you want to do you because you don't want to lift the weight. That's all it is. That's all it is. And again, yes, you can't control what you can't control. Control the controllables. You can always control you. Can't control what happens to you. But everyone says it the same way. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. You've heard it. I know you understand it. You choose to ignore it. You stay on just the 45 bar. And here's what got me to the mic today, aside from the fact that I love doing this, makes me feel good, and I hope in the process it reaches who it's supposed to reach, how it's supposed to reach, and has the impact it's supposed to have. Because again, I'm just a reminder. And I have the same opportunities you have, and I've had similar struggles, albeit not as flagrant and as I hate to downplay it, but I also hate to exaggerate it. I have a life. Someone commented on one of my videos yesterday. It's all unfair for everybody. I have my level of unfairness. And I can choose to keep my incompetence low or keep gaining competence, thereby learning there's more incompetence, so I have to keep lifting and lifting and lifting and lifting and lifting and lifting and lifting. Or I can stay right here. It's your choice. If you're not already judging yourself and you don't believe that maybe we get judged in the end, whatever. I'm still going to believe what I believe. You're still going to believe what you believe. You're still going to do what you're going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You're going to do you. All right. I read this today from a book called Behold the Pale Horse. And I read this book I'm 42 now. I believe I read this book when I was around 25-ish. So almost 2 decades ago. And I remember vividly reading it and having it hit my soul and say, man, this book is deep. I don't want to say it's far out there. When I first read it, it was a little difficult to align with some of the possibilities, mostly because of my emotional intelligence and my maturation as a human. I was only 25, and I just think that there's certain things I hadn't learned, done, or experienced for myself. But now being 42 and open to broader possibilities, man, I read the first chapter this morning, and I almost wanted to cry. But anyway, the book says this, as far as, let's just call it the influence over society and the war to gain control over how we move and become predictable as people. And because the more predictable you are, then the people who have more and more authority, more and more competence can stretch and pull things in their direction as far as wealth, right? So this is what it's about. Let me read it. In view of the natural selection, it was agreed that a nation or world of people listen, listen, who will not use their intelligence. It was agreed that a nation or world of people who will not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Such people are beasts of burden. Such people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. I don't even want to finish this. Beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. Consequently, in the interest of future world order, peace, and tranquility, it was decided to permanently shift the wealth of the undisciplined and irresponsible many. Hear what I'm saying, dog? Shift the wealth of the undisciplined and irresponsible many. They're already saying many of us are choosing to be undisciplined and responsible. So shift the wealth into the hands of the self-disciplined, worthy, and responsible few. That the world order would shift permanently into the hands of the self-disciplined, worthy, and responsible few. If you don't believe you have a choice, if you don't believe that it's still possible, if you're still waiting for the perfect time, you're only rising and only will ever rise to the level of your incompetence. Life is just a weight. And if you never get in and lift, you still have strength, but just enough to do what you do right now. And the possibilities that life offers are available to all. And yes, the journey to lift just the bar to 225 and become even just simply the 1 out of 1,000 is long, arduous, difficult, hard to see, few will attain. Yet and still, for the self-disciplined, it is possible. The alternative is to be a beast of burden and stake on the table by choice and consent. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.